Welcome back to the channel. Today we are going to be installing the Eibach Pro Truck Lift Kit suspension lift into my truck here. I wasn't looking for anything too crazy, just about 2 to 3 inches. Now they are adjustable, so you can pick whatever one you'd like. I was just looking, these are original shocks from 2012, so I'm just looking to replace these, get some newer stuff, get a little lift out of it, and yeah, it's going to most likely be not a fully step-by-step process, but I will explain along the way what we're doing. So hopefully it'll help you out when you guys are putting your lifts in your trucks. So let's get into it. Okay, so you obviously have to take your wheels off. Once you get those off, I think for the first side, I'm just gonna tell you what I'm doing, and then off camera I'll do it, and then update you guys after that's done. And then the other side, I'll do more of a time lapse, and then I'll place the camera. We can go through the whole thing. You can watch the time lapse of us doing top to bottom. But for this side, I think I'm just gonna tell you what steps go in first, and then we can go from there. So the first thing you wanna do is you're gonna disconnect the brackets here for your brake lines and your ABS line. There's one up here on your upper control arm. There's another one down here. There's just 2 bolts. You're gonna pop those out and just hang them off to the side. Make sure they're loose, not tight, and just tie them off to the side so they're out of the way. Okay, so I think for this first side, I'm just gonna tell you what my steps are going forward from here to replace the shock, and then I'll just update you guys after that's done and give you the next step and so on and so forth. Then the next side, I'll place the camera, we'll do full time lapse so you guys can watch the whole thing. But for this side, I think just the step-by-step individual clips will work out a little better, so you guys that following along, it might be easier to follow. So the first thing you wanna do is disconnect your brake line up here on your upper control arm. That way when we disconnect the upper control arm, we can lift it up and not have stress on the brake line here. This one down here, this is a hard line, so you're not gonna be able to bend this too much. And once it's disconnected, it's not gonna be really in the way. So just the top bracket right here for your brake line, take that off and just hang it to the side. All right, so we pulled the brake line off. This is not usually the way of doing things, but we're gonna try to pull this main bolt out down here off the lower control arm that holds the bottom of the shock in place. We're gonna try to pull that out, undo your top 4 bolts, and we're gonna try to squeeze it out from the bottom. And if it doesn't work, then we'll go from there. All right, so we pulled the bottom bolt out, and what you really had to do is push down on the upper control arm to drop the lower control arm to get the bottom of the shock out, so you can pull it down from the top. And then we kind of finagled our way out of here. We found that it might be easier to disconnect the tie rod, so that's what we're gonna do next, so that the next one, when we put it in, it goes in a lot easier. You don't have to try to wiggle it through anywhere. So okay, so instead of trying to ruin everything in here at the cotter pin, I just said let's try and get it in without taking the tie rod out. And as you see, we did pop it in there. We just spun it. You got the top plate up above here and spun the spring all the way up, and then once it hit a certain point, you can just push it all the way through, pop the top in. We just put the nuts on top hand tight, and then we're gonna do the same thing. We're gonna push down the upper control arm to lower the lower control arm and pop the knuckle into the spot, put the bolt in, and we'll be good to go. All right, so a little update here. We tried to put it in the way I mentioned before. Anybody who was watching this video and said, oh, he's doomed, you were right. It didn't really work out too well. We just disconnected the upper control arm and the sway link. And then once we pop that out, we used the sway link spot to pry down to get the shock popped right in. So upper control arm bolt right here, it's a crown nut and a cotter pin, and then the sway link. Just take those out, and then the strut slides right in. Now we're just buttoning everything up, and we'll do a time lapse on the other side. All right, so obviously you watched that time lapse. Shock is in, swaling bolt is tight. The only thing I recommend, do not tighten the main bolt that holds the bottom of the shock in. You want to put your wheels on, tighten those, set the truck down so there's no binding if you tighten the bolt before you put the truck down, it's going to bind. So leave that loose, put your wheels on, put the truck back down on the ground, and then tighten that bottom bolt. You can go ahead and tighten the top plate nuts, the sway link, put all your ABS and brake line bolts back in, and just leave that bottom one in. We're gonna put the wheels on, and then you guys can see it after. Okay, so for the rear shocks are a ton easier than the front. There's just a bolt up here, take that off. There's a bolt that goes through, there's a bracket that holds it in the bottom of the axle here. There's a bolt that goes through the whole thing. Take that off, 2 bolts, or 1 bolt, 1 nut, strut comes out. All right, so the load shock is out. You had to reuse some hardware, so this bump stop up here stays. I don't know if you can see it. The bump stop stays. This you gotta transfer over to your new one, and you're just gonna do the opposite. Put it in from the top, put your nut on to hold it, and then put the bolt in through the bottom. And I'll catch up with you guys after that's done. All right, so this one is done. I'm gonna go do the other side. I'm gonna do a time-lapse video of me doing the whole thing so you can see exactly what I was doing the whole time. Super simple, 1 nut on top, 1 bolt through the bottom, and there's literally no tricks to it. It's the easiest thing that you can do. So I'm gonna show you the other side. There you go, that's done. The only thing I suggest is don't tighten the top nut down all the way before you get the bottom bolt in, because as you can see, I did have to loosen a little bit to get the bottom bolt to go through. And there's this cover here, this rubber cover here. It's supposed to go into a groove on the bottom knuckle. Make sure you do that before you put it in, because you will not be able to get it in before or after you already installed it. So make sure you do that. And then here they send you with some zip ties. Just pull this up and zip tie it tight on the strut, and you'll be good to go. All right, there you have it. It is in there, both sides sitting. Definitely want to go get an alignment right after you do this. The camber on the wheels when you adjust everything is absolutely insane. So you definitely want to get in alignment. Everything in there, all tucked away, tightened up. Like I said, once you get it sitting, tighten that lower bolt that holds the shock in. And I'm gonna put some pictures right after this of the before and after, or the front. It's definitely a noticeable difference, but yeah, overall pretty happy with how it turned out. Looks good, looks real good. Thank you guys so much for watching this video. If you enjoyed it, please leave a like, subscribe if you're not already, and let me know what you guys thought in the comments below, if you would do anything different or what you guys want to see. But thank you guys for watching this video, and I'll catch you on the next one.